Hello everyone, welcome to AWS Tutorials. In AWS Tutorials, we provide workshops and exercises to learn about AWS services. These workshops and exercises are published to our website aws-dojo.com. Last week, I talked about how you can use super data type within Redshift to handle JSON data, how you can ingest data, how you can query data. And then when I made that video, actually I got a lot of questions about people having mixed set of data where they have like scalar data and JSON data, and they want to handle that into PySpark. And I thought, since I'm talking about JSON files, why not just make quickly another video which talks about how to handle a JSON data in PySpark code. So let's get started. And of course, I have a demo towards the end of the tutorial to show how the things work. So let's try to see what we're trying to solve here. So for instance, if you have a JSON document, which is say stored into Amazon S3, okay, just as an example. And if you try to use a PySpark based script or code to read this JSON document, you can easily convert that into a data frame or a glue dynamic frame. Yeah. So it's very easy to use a PySpark code to read data from a JSON document and then convert into or load into a data frame. And one alternate could be that actually this JSON document you are not fetching directly, but you are cataloging using glue catalog, and then through that catalog you are loading the data into a data frame or dynamic frame. So it is all fantastic when you are dealing with a JSON only document. Like the entire document or entire body is JSON itself, then it's great. You can access it directly or access via glue catalog, and you can load that into data frame or glue dynamic frame, and you can process the data. So it all works well. The problem comes when you have a mixed data. So for instance, when you have a data source like RDS or Redshift or DynamoDB or DocumentDB, like I'm talking about any relational or NoSQL type of data set, whenever you have this kind of data set, you might end up having a table like this, where some columns are scalar columns, like for instance, ID I have got integer, name I have got string. And then I have got few columns which are string type, but the data inside is a JSON document. And that's where the challenge starts, because when you try to read this data into data frame, in data frame the data looks like following. So you will have your scalars like this, like ID and name, but then your address and contact, which is JSON here, will appear as a string here. So JSON string here. And that's where the challenge arises, because when you're trying to now parse read value from this JSON document, you will have to apply JSON functions, and in that case the whole processing becomes very slow, and you sometimes come across memory issues or timeouts and those kind of things. So that's what we're trying to solve here, is that when you have a mix of data, like where you have part of the data which is scalar and the part of data which is JSON, and these JSON documents are now treated as a string within your data frame, then how do we efficiently process such data so that you don't get any kind of performance or memory or timeout kind of issues? Okay, and that's what is the core thing I want to discuss today. Now there are two transformations which are part of the AWS Glue dynamic frame, which actually come to help here actually. And the first transformation is Unbox, which is primarily used to basically take a JSON document and convert that into a kind of a structure kind of thing, an array and a structure kind of struct. That's what unboxing does, or unbox does. And then we have another transformation which is called Unnested Frame, which basically takes one structure and converts that into a tabular format. So these two transformation, if you make work or put to the work, they can actually convert your JSON document into a tabular format, even if your JSON document is like considered as a data as a string when you first loaded the data frame. So let's see how exactly these two functions work. So when you're talking about unbox, actually, basically what you do, that suppose you have mixed data like this. You can see here, for instance, it is a scalar and JSON data, where my warehouse location is a scalar data, but my data is actually keeping a JSON data, but that is also treated as string. In that case, if I apply my unbox method, so my unbox method will be called like unbox.apply, and this is the data frame on which I want to apply the unboxing. This is the column which is holding my JSON data. In this case, it is data, you can see here. And then you mention the format also, which is JSON in this case. It's going to create a transformed data frame, which will be something like this, which will have basically your scalars will remain as scalars, but your JSON data becomes your structured, convert into a structure, a struct. Now this is okay. This is kind of a level of parsing, but still this is not yet ready because it is still not in a tabular format, and you have to use certain Python functions in order to read or parse the data. So Unbox does one level of transformation where your JSON string gets converted into a structure, yeah. And then we apply a second level of transformation, which is Unnest Frame. And in case of Unnest Frame, you take data where you have got like mixed again, but like scalar and struct data. And then when you perform an unnest transformation, like we are saying, Unnest Frame dot apply, and this is the frame I want to, this is an unboxed frame which I want to convert into an unnest frame, then it basically gets converted into a proper tabular format, which is then very easy to process and make use of. So these two transformations basically you can use into your PySpark script in order to convert a JSON document into a proper tabular data format. Now, you must have realized that these two has to work together. So like it has to be a two-step transformation to convert a JSON document into a tabular format. So first you will take your scalar plus JSON data, mixed data, and use the unbox transformation on that to convert into a structure. Still consumable in certain ways, and you might want to sometime use a structure format. In that case, you can consume your data in this format. But if you want to convert that into a proper tabular format, then you apply another transformation, Unnest Frame, on this struct data to convert into a proper tabular format. So generally you apply this two-step process to convert JSON data into a tabular format. Now, that's pretty much what we need to do today, actually, and it's not going to be very long tutorial. So what we are going to build today, and I will see this whole thing into action, is that I have got an Amazon DynamoDB table where I have created some mixed data, the scalar and JSON document together. And then we are going to catalog this data. So we'll have a glue catalog to catalog this DynamoDB table. And then I have created a developer endpoint, a glue developer endpoint, which we are going to use as a PySpark Spark environment for the development, and then I will use a Jupyter notebook where I will write PySpark code to do this whole development. Now, you might not be familiar with PySpark development or how to use Notebook or Glue Developer Dev Endpoint. If that is the case, then I have some other tutorials created into my YouTube channel, which you can use to learn about PySpark, which you can use to learn how to use a Jupyter Notebook and Glue Developer Endpoint to do such a development. You might want to refer that first to learn how PySpark development you can do with the Glue in AWS. But if you are familiar how this whole development works, then you can simply follow me to the rest of the presentation where I'm going to show the demo. So it's time to show you the demo and put this into an action. So for that, we have set up a Glue environment. So what we have done here is that I have created two tables, fruit and persons. And if I simply make, and this is a DynamoDB table. So if I simply say select star from fruits, actually this is having a two column data. So I have got ID as like scalar value, integer type, in fact string type I have put somehow. And then your details has got a JSON document here. And then if I select query the other table, then this is also got a mixed data where I have got person ID, and then I have got a little more complex JSON document over here. Again, you can have more than two columns, but I kept it very simple, two columns, one is scalar and one JSON. Now what we have done is that we have cataloged these two tables. So I have used Glue crawler to actually catalog these two tables, and you can see here these two tables are cataloged from DynamoDB tables. But if I go and see the schema of the fruits, and that's where you will get your surprise that, yeah, you know what, your details, which is a JSON document, is treated as a string. And that's where the challenge starts, because it's not a JSON document, it has not parsed it, and it has not broken that down into multiple columns. It is giving you just that value as a string. So how do I parse that string if I want to read value inside my JSON document to do some kind of transformation? Similar thing is happening with the persons table as well, where you can see that it has got details and ID, and again this is this details is keeping your JSON document. Fair enough. That's what we are going to solve here in our PySpark code. So I have created a Glue developer endpoint, and this Glue developer endpoint is used as a Spark environment where we will run our code. And then I have created a SageMaker notebook connected to this Glue developer endpoint, and this notebook I'm going to use for my development today. So let's select this notebook and say I want to open the notebook. It's starting the notebook environment. Now let's create a new notebook with PySpark as the kernel. Okay, should be starting anytime now. Again, if you don't understand how PySpark development you can do with the notebook, then please refer my other YouTube channels about it, which will really help you get started. And then you can always come back and do this part of the transformation. Now what I'm going to do, I have got my my notebook ready. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to import certain libraries. So I'm just doing some copy paste job from my other screen. So I'm simply importing Glue libraries and PySpark libraries over here. So let me run this. And then I will connect. I'll create the context. So let my Spark application start, and then I'm going to create a Glue context here. So wait for it to finish. It might take a couple of seconds more. Yeah, here we go. My Spark session has started. Now I create the glue context, which is created very fast. Now with this glue context, I can fetch data from my catalog. I can perform different types of transformation. So I do first thing first. You can see here, I'm going to run the code here. So if I go back to my catalog again, I have got a DojoDB in which I have got fruits and persons, two tables cataloged. So if I come back to my code, what I'm saying here is that I want to create a dynamic frame, glue dynamic frame from the catalog. This is my database name and this is my table name. And then I want to do one more thing after this, and that is to print the schema. So load the fruits data frame and show me how does the schema look like. So if I print the schema, you can see here, it will load the data into data frame. It will show you how does the data frame schema is going to look like, which I'm not surprised, which is string and string. And this string is what we are going to solve, because this is actually containing a JSON document there. So if you want to see the data as well, you can see the data actually. You will find that yeah, it's holding a two column table. One is keeping the ID, other is keeping the JSON document as a string here. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to do unboxing transformation on this. So for that, I will simply perform the unbox.apply transformation, and I'm applying this on the fruits data frame. The column which is holding the JSON document which I want to unbox or convert into a structure is details. So all good. And then the format of the string is JSON here. And then this I'm populating back to same fruits data frame. And then I'm going to print the schema to see how the schema now look like. So if I run it now, it has converted my data frame into and details column into in fact a structure, and this structure has got kind of an array which or key value pairs of two key value pairs. So for instance, if I go and see the data now in this data frame, this is how the data look like now. So it's going to keep ID as it is, and then this one it has converted kind of a value array. So you can see that yeah, it has converted into the value array. So fair enough, but this is not yet ready for my consumption. Well, I can use this for some of my queries or consumption, but I really want to convert it into a proper tabular data frame. So for that, I will apply Unnest Frame transformation. So that's again looks pretty straightforward here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this fruits data frame, and on that I'm going to apply Unnest Frame transformation and populate that back to my fruits data frame, and then let's see how the schema look like now. So if I run this one now, it has applied a data frame, and you can see here this structure over here, this struct over here is now converted into two columns. So it got like root, and then I have got three columns. That means my whole JSON document is now converted into a tabular format. So the whole data frame, which initially started like a two column data frame like this, where my JSON document was in a string, now it has converted into a proper unnested data frame where each of my JSON keys or fields are now a column in my data frame. So if I see this this data frame again and see the value of it, you can see that it is now a proper data frame, and then it's very easy for me to go and apply any kind of transformation at its scale, because my whole JSON document has been unnested or has been flattened into a tabular format. Okay, so this was one example. Let's try to see the other example where JSON document is a little more complicated. You may still have some challenges if you're using arrays and those kind of things. In that case, probably you have to do you have to perform this kind of transformation in multiple layers, or probably you might want to break your data frame into multiple data frame. I leave that to you, but I want to show you the capability so that you can, instead of like you trying to parse a JSON document, actually you use these kind of out-of-box transformations to quickly transform your data into something to a tabular format. So let me parse my person's data frame. So in this case, I'm going to load my persons table from DojoDB into a person's data frame. And you know what, and again, this again will actually give me a 2-column data, but then what I want to do is that I want to unbox this data and convert into a structure, my JSON document into a structure. So let's apply this whole bunch of loading data and unbox transformation on that. So when I run this query, it should load my data and then perform unbox transformation. So now you can see here that it has loaded my data and had performed the unbox transformation. So for instance, my ID is still there, but then my details has converted into a struct, which has got like first name, last name, gender, age, and then address has got sub values under that. So that also it has converted into a value array. You can see here, or a structure in fact, which has got now a street address, city, state as a part of the address, and same type and number as part of the phone numbers. So this is good. Again, you can, if you want, you can see the data. In fact, let's see the data. So if I say generally to see the data, I have to do 2df and then show. So if I say dot 2df dot show, and if I run that, you can see this is how it looks like. I mean, still it is converted into a structure, but well, still not readable or easily consumable. So we need to apply the second layer of transformation on that, and for that we simply take this unboxed data and convert that into an unnested framework. So again, I'm taking this personal DF and applying unnested transformation on that, and load it back to person's DF. And when I do that, you can see here now it has completely flattened my JSON document. So you can see here that details.firstname. In fact, where we have got a third layer, there also you can see it has done like details, address, and street. That kind of column name it has generated, and it has completely flattened my data. And at this point of time, if I see my data, you can see over here that this has converted this into you can in a proper table where each of the JSON document value you can fetch separately. So if I see data from here, your data used to be like this, where you have got ID and then the whole details has got a JSON document, which was, you have to apply some thoughts before you can actually or you can apply some function before you can read value from there. And now we have used this unbox and unnest method to convert that JSON document into a proper tabular format in my data frame, which you can then you can access each of the value by their column names, and you can apply whatever type of transformation or calculation you want to perform. So that was, to be honest, the topic of today was that how if you got like mixed kind of data and your data frame gets loaded with some columns, some JSON document into a column, and you want to apply any kind of transformation on that JSON data at the individual field level, how you can use unbox and unnest method to convert that JSON document into a proper table format. And then after that, of course, you can then apply any kind of transformation on that data frame or dynamic frame. So that was all for today, guys. Hope you like video, and if you like, please click on the like button. Please subscribe to my channel. I always look forward to your feedback for any kind of like recommendation you give in terms of like new topics, or like this topic was based on one of the recommendations from one of my audience actually, or if you find any mistake in my video and you want to correct me, or if you or if you want to discuss any of the videos, you have some follow-up questions or anything you want to discuss about that video, that topic, you can always provide such feedbacks and comments in the YouTube comments channel. We always look forward to your comments for the improvement to make the content better for you. I promise to come back again in a week's time with another such tutorial. In the meantime, stay safe and have a nice day. Bye-bye.